Hello everybody, welcome back to Dominions 5. I want to add a few more episodes to this series that I've done on the BumbleRumble game. This is the big game that I played TNG as, where Lucid is playing as Atlantis. So far I've recorded a few videos talking about my overall strategy, the early part, the expansion, the build. I went over my first war with Miklin. And I talked a little bit about sort of the end game and what you'd want to build for in general. Now I haven't, one thing I was thinking about doing was going through all the saved games, all the saved turns, and maybe doing a bit of analysis for different battles that happened that didn't concern me directly. I might still do that, but there might be other more interesting ways of doing this kind of battle analysis coming up in the near future. So I decided to put those plans on hold. Meanwhile, I've been watching as Lucid has been releasing his episodes. Of course, this was much later after the fact. This game was started like a year ago, basically from the moment I'm recording this. And Lucid's episodes have finally caught up to, basically the end game. Basically, he's on turn 100 and whatever, maybe 10, 20, or 30 turns from the end. And excuse me as I record this, I have a bit of a cough, so I'll be muting occasionally. Right. So I've been, of course, watching with a lot of interest Lucid's progression through the game, and I've been adding a lot of comments on his YouTube series, providing a bit of sort of filling in some of the Diplo and sort of what was going on in the rest of the world, because Lucid famously does not build a lot of scouts, so he didn't have very good vision of what was going on land, which is extra hard, given that he's underwater. What I have decided to do, and I've waited until this point to do it because I didn't, I know that I would want to watch all the videos as soon as they came out, and I didn't want to spoil too much or just kind of have the end game be fully described to you before Lucid got to the end game on his series. So this is turn 122. And this is the turn before my war with Vanarus starts. And what I'd like to do in a few videos is just go through the end, like the game from here until the end. This is turn 122. And let me just, start this video by describing sort of geopolitically where I'm at. If we look at the globals, this is when Atlantis has already put up Arcane Nexus, and he's already stolen Gift of Health from me. Okay, so we have tried to dispel or to overcast Arcane Nexus. It didn't work. Lucid he is now decided I'm going to win this. Now, I actually didn't know when I was playing this the extent to which, I always feared and suspected that just his massive land holdings were giving him just phenomenal gem income. And it is higher than mine, and it was higher than mine, but now that I've seen his series, it was much higher than I thought. We were so much more screwed than I thought we were screwed. So Lucid has now finished taking over Relay. I think he hasn't yet, but he's about to start fighting Shinuyama to get this throne. And then after that, he's going to go and start to attack Pythium, right? So Atlantis, if we look at the thrones here. Thrones. Okay, so Atlantis currently has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thrones. And I have 3, and I'll show those to you. So Atlantis has the 4 underwater thrones. 3 underwater thrones. He's got 1, 2, and 3. And he's going to get this one from Shinuyama, but right now he has these 3. Plus, he has these two on land. I call this Pangea because Pangea's capital was here. So this area I call Pangea. Plus, he has these two thrones. And in the previous 20 turns, or even more than that, 40 turns, I have been at war with Atlantis. And we've been fighting in this area. We had parts of the war at first, Atlantis declared war on me. He wanted to raid me here. I kind of fought him back. It was a draw. We cost each other gems and resources, but nobody strategically gained that much, although the fact that he attacked me caused some significant diplo changes. I had to peace out with Shiniyama and concede this throne to him. I had this throne earlier on in the game. I had a war with Shiniyama. I was kind of winning, but then Atlantis attacked. I was also fighting Pythium, so I had to peace out with everybody. So I conceded this throne to Shiniyama. But let's refocus on Atlantis. So we got a little sidetracked here. So Atlantis has 5 thrones. We need 8 to win in this game. And obviously he's going to get this throne. This is throne number 6. And then he's going to need 2 more thrones. So he could, so the coastal thrones are obviously the most tempting ones, right? He could get one of mine. This one is coastal. There is one also from Vanarus here, which is coastal. Now he'd have to go through a bit of Vanarus here, but I mean it's underwater. It'd be very easy for him. And then so my coastal here, and then there's a coastal one from Pythium here, another coastal one from Pythium here, and this one, which isn't quite coastal, but it's almost coastal, and this is the land border here between the two nations. So this is also an easy target for him. Now, Lucid I've watched his videos, and he mentions things like maybe gate stoning onto this throne or whatever. Past Lucid wasn't thinking of a few things, such as the fact that, of course, I have air domes everywhere, so 80% chance the spell just outright fails. And especially if he tries like a multiple, like if he tries to teleport in with a lot of mages, like a lot of his mages are not going to make it. So that would have failed catastrophically, I think, for him. But I was always worried that he might try to take this coastal throne, which is why this entire game I've had a huge army just sitting here waiting, being defensive. I've got a huge pile of sacreds because this happens to be an Amazon province, so we've been recruiting Jade Maidens here. We've had a huge standing army here the whole time. Now for Lucid, what makes the most sense is to just take 2 of Pythium's thrones, because then you only have to declare war against one player. I mean, obviously other players will stop you from winning, but that makes sense. Plus, there are 3 possible thrones to attack. He could attack from this side, and he could also attack from this side and from this side. In addition to that, Pythium has recently been attacked by both Vanarus and Shiniyama. So Vanarus and Shiniyama decided they were going to attack Pythium. This was happening while Atlantis was finishing up Relay up here. And after Atlantis and Shiniyama finally peaced out. Now, this was very, very dangerous because, if Pythium is fighting off 2 other players, and although Shiniyama is smaller, but he has powerful tools at his disposal, Vanarus is very large. And so it'd be very hard for Pythium to fight off both land nations and then also have to be the only one who could stop Atlantis from winning by defending his thrones. That's insane, right? So that's the situation of that's the game situation right now. And this is something that was not like I had predicted. I'm not like some. It's not that I had some extraordinary abilities of prediction, although I mean I guess I didn't do a bad job, but this was clear to me. It was clear that this was going to be the outcome of the game, in the sense that even though it took Lucid until turn 120 to actually, or whatever, 130 to finally secure all 4 underwater thrones, that was never in doubt. Like, it was, and it has always been since he won his first Underwater Wars, absolutely guaranteed that he would get the 4 thrones. When he got them was entirely up to him, but there's nothing that we can do as land nations to stop him. I tried very hard to try to take this throne, and I could not. Although I still have a big presence here to keep him honest, and in a desperate move, I might try to take it to stop a win. But, you just can't fight an underwater nation, especially an underwater nation that's much more powerful than you in terms of gems. So it was always assumed that Atlantis was starting at 4 thrones, right? And he only needed 4 land thrones to win, whereas we need 8 land thrones to win. And Atlantis was able to secure these 2 land thrones pretty early on in the game, and nobody has been able to dislodge him. I made progress. When we started, Atlantis was up here, and I kind of fought around this lake and, forted this up, and we've been preaching Dominion as much as possible. And I attacked this and won a battle outside the fort, but I cannot secure this. I cannot secure enough land around here to take this throne, much less push through here. The geography here is really unfortunate because he controls all this underwater too. So this is very, very exposed to raiding and to armies. It's very hard to fight against an underwater nation. A good amphibious nation, I think, would be a good description of Atlantis as a land nation. Anyways, I couldn't do it. Pythium at some point attacked into here and somehow just failed catastrophically. I think he just had a few bad fights. He didn't script a few things properly, and that just failed. And honestly, we were counting on that. Atlantis was already the bigger nation, and we were hoping that together we would put enough pressure here to maybe take his land thrones, right? If Pythium had been able to push into Atlantis' land holdings here, and maybe secure this throne, and I had been able to push here and secure this throne, then you'd actually have 3, like me, Pythium, and Atlantis would be probably equally sized in power. This game might have gone on forever, but that didn't happen. Anyways, so that is and the other thing is that Vanarus has, he also has a very tough geography here. If you wanted to pressure, he'd have to go through here, but he's never shown any interest in doing anything against Atlantis the entire game. He's been busy fighting Relay and whatever. So that has been the situation. So let's talk about my situation. I have currently 3 thrones under my control. We've got a throne here, we've got a throne here, and we've got a throne here. Now, this throne was mine for a good part of the game. I ceded it to Shiniyama a while back when I had to kind of make peace quickly with him, but it is definitely within my reach. Shiniyama is not weak, but I could... this is the kind of throne that when you're trying to win the game, at the last minute you go and you take this throne. It's close to my border, and it's against a player that I'm stronger. I just have more stuff than him, so I feel confident that I could take this throne. That would bring me up to 4. And we still need to go find 4 more thrones, guys. This throne I tried, and I was not able to. That part of my original plan involved maybe taking this throne from Atlantis. I was not able to do that, so that is still, to me, this is very unlikely. Now here, there's another border throne, so doable in a kind of like a throne rush situation, but Vanarus is basically the same size as me or as Pythium, and so there's no reason why he would just let me do that, right? So I would expect very stiff resistance. And remember, we're humans, right? So late game humans, everything's going to die to flames from the sky and stuff like that. So, but this would also be doable in a throne rush. That could get me up to 5. But I still need 3 more thrones. Okay, so where are the other thrones on this map? There's one throne up here, which is way deep in Vanarus. So if I were seriously considering this throne, I basically have to conquer all of Vanarus. And there are like no thrones in here at all. The only other throne, well, there's this throne up here, which is really far from me. And then there are two thrones here that Pythium currently controls. And both are coastal. Excuse me. And both are coastal. And Atlantis can get at them. So in order to win, in order to get to 8, I have 1, 2, 3. I'll have to get this one 4. And then I'll have to get 5, 6, 7 over here, and then 8 over here. That is pretty much the only way I can win. Because taking this involves fighting the current superpower, right? Taking it from somebody stronger than me, which is just like it's just not going to work. So that's what I have to do. And so my decision that I had to make was, and so think about it this way. In order to win this game, I'm going to have to fully conquer another major, like there are 3 land superpowers right now, me, Vanarus, and Pythium. I have to fully defeat one of the remaining land superpowers. This like Vanarus is like here. Yeah, Vanarus is here. This is right next to his capital. Like I would have to like completely conquer him. Imagine if Vanarus came and like this is my capital, right? So imagine if Vanarus came, took this throne, and then also came and took this throne. Like that'd be like winning a complete war against me, right? So I have to completely defeat one of the other land neighbors. And then after that, I have to go and defeat Pythium here. But this is also like Pythium is, where's Pythium? Pythium is, sorry, I forget. It's over here somewhere. Here. This is Pythium. 3 away from his capital. And this has been like super, like these forts here are like super fortified. This has been like his core lands from the beginning of the game. So I have to basically completely defeat the other 2 land superpowers in order to win. Atlantis has to defeat one of them. He has to defeat Pythium. That's all. He can completely ignore me. He can completely ignore Vanarus. All he has to do is defeat Pythium. So I'm not going to do his job for him. If I attack Pythium first, then all I'm setting up is, first of all, I'm weakening Pythium, so it makes it easier for Atlantis to take his stuff. And Atlantis will beat me to this throne, right? I could beat him to this throne. But this geography here is awful because I have to go through here and then here. By the way, Pythium, in case you don't know, in case you haven't watched Lucid's videos, and I'm not sure if I think I've presented it on in these series, but Pythium has like a super secret weapon, which is not secret. I faced it many turns ago, but it involves sort of a turn 1 mass enslave vortex out kind of special move, which is just really basically impossible to stop unless you do it yourself. But I don't have the hundreds of astral gems it takes to kind of build that kit, although Atlantis probably does at this point. And well, I mean, I know he does because I was watching Lucid series, but he does build his own version of that kit. We don't really have the resources to fight against that. So how we would actually defeat Pythium is not too clear. And that would really only hasten Atlantis's win. So what I have to do instead is go fight Vanarus. Now I have timed this attack so that Vanarus is currently, all of Vanarus' strength is all up here because he is like blitzing across Pythium. And so we had an app 3. I ended it 3 turns ago, and then this is the turn where we're issuing orders. So he's been moving his stuff back. He pieced out with Pythium. That was obviously part of my plan too, was to give Pythium breathing room so he could devote his energies to fighting off Atlantis. What this means for me is that a lot of Vanarus's troops are out of position, which will give me a big advantage in the opening rounds of the war. Now, let's talk about Obviously, you know, we've had full research for forever, right? If we just look at the score graphs, like just so you do see, like research has been done for a very long time. Who's I'm not sure who this is showing. Anyways, I must have had like a spy somewhere telling me, yeah, things like that. Whatever. Okay, so a few things to note. So Vanarus has had this peninsula for a while. I'm going to conquer it just for the income and to be complete, but my strategic objective is capturing this throne. This is what this war is about for me. Obviously, I'll take this one along the way, but, you know, I am done with this war once I capture this throne. So I have an army here that's going to go around taking these thrones, but it is a pretty insignificant army. Now, you look at this epic pile of 7, you say, that's insignificant? Well, yeah, it's turn 122. This is peanuts. So, the issue that human nations face in the late game is that it is trivial to just wipe their armies out because you can kill everything with fires from the sky and murdering winter. Because all human troops, although Tianchi has fantastic human troops, they still only have 10 hit points and no resistances. So a single fire from the sky just murders all of these human troops. All of my mages, some of the best mages in the game, 9 hit points, gone. My cap-only mages with amazing built-in paths, 10 hit points, gone. So everything just gets deleted with one single spell for 30 gems, right? So you put like tons of gear on this guy to make him survive. Yes, but I'm a communion nation. I'm bringing like 30 of these guys, and you can't gear like 30 of these guys to survive flames from the sky or murdering winter. You're like, it's impossible as a human nation. So what do? You have to have like it sucks is the short answer. There is no good way to do it. You have to be able to bring an army that is large enough to siege down a fort, win battles, but that you also can afford to just throw away, right? So think about it. That's hard, right? It has to be so strong that it can successfully conduct an offensive military operation, but you can afford to just throw it away to lose it, right? And I mean, he has a finite number of fire gems and water gems. And so if you are able to conduct a war on multiple fronts, attack different points at the same time, and deploy several of these sort of medium-sized armies, he'll only be able to melt a few of them per turn, and the other ones can successfully take their objectives, right? Now, another part of that is you have to basically, at this point in the game, you are kind of no longer using a lot of recruitable troops. You have to find another source of chaff that is consistent with this strategy, which is to say they have to be expendable. So what I have been doing forever is I have I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe it is on a guy somewhere over here. Yes. Okay. So a long time ago, many turns ago, I crafted this artifact, the Crown of the Ivy King. This artifact allows you to cast for free. Oh no, sorry, this is the wrong one. Not Crown of the Ivy King. It's called, but it is in this province, I think. Whatever, I'll show it to you on the forging screen if I could find. Where's my pretender? He can forge everything. Okay. The Soulstone of the Wolves. I own this, okay? Costs 60 nature gems and 5 earth gems. You need to be nature 6 to cast it. Start of the battle, you cast half a free shirt, but you don't use this in combat, okay? This allows you to cast Call of the Wild for free every turn. Now, Call of the Wild is a conjuration spell. Over here, very easy to get. Nature 4 costs 12 nature gems, and it will summon a werewolf with a bunch of little wolf buddies. Okay. Now, normally I wouldn't be. Nature gems are pretty valuable. They're one of the most valuable gem types. So many important items need to be forged using nature gems. Gift of Reason uses nature gems. It's a pretty important path, and you just need it to cast all your battlefield spells. You need every battle. You need mastery gen. You need like a bunch of nature spells to be cast. So, for many turns, I've been casting this randomly, just putting it in, just getting a ton of these werewolves. These werewolves every turn can do summon allies, and they just accumulate a ton of these little wolves. Okay. These are shitty troops, guys. These are not amazing. They're like 8 hit points. They're animals, so they don't siege particularly well. I mean, they move very far. They're great patrollers if you're doing blood hunting. They have good attack. It's okay. They're free. This is chaff, okay? I have a bajillion of these wolves, okay? They are everywhere. And the thing is in the late game, this is a crappy unit, but it is going to become a crappy unit with 20 protection, master generation, and berserking. Because what we're doing now, this is a much larger army here. Let me actually find a more representative. Maybe here. Okay, now we're sending thugs this first round. But what we'll get to that in a minute. But what we can do is we can take one of these mages, a nature astral, and like 6 of these guys, throw a little communion, send like 80 or 200 garbagey troops, right? Like wolves or other chaff. I'll show you the other chaff in a moment. This guy does mass regeneration and, this guy's doing something else, but he would do mass regeneration, and then he would also do growing fury, which causes everybody to have the berserk attribute on them. Then one of these earth mages does enters a communion and does army of lead. And then whatever garbage troops you brought in now have 20 protection, mass regeneration, and berserk. And that is going to kill anything except like a really good army or like a super combatant, right? Because the other thing is these shitty mages in the back, they're astral mages. So, after they're done their script, you put them on advance and cast spell. They're doing charm and they're doing soul slay. So even a thug is going to be pretty vulnerable in that situation. So you actually need a significant defensive effort to fight off that kind of army. And are you going to waste 30 fire gems to do flames from the sky on a bunch of free wolf chaff, right? So that's the idea. That is the basic kind of way to take territory, in the very, very late game. Now, I mentioned wolves. There are a few other sources of chaff. Now, you see here, I do have some of these vine men because I did have another artifact that allows me to cast this for free each turn. So we're casting some vine men. I've been summoning. After I put all my air into the air domes that I needed, I've been making a ton of corpse constructs. When you build all the right boosters, now there's an artifact booster for this, but even without it, you can get a boost from the lightning rod, which is a very cheap item, and you can get another boost from the storm spool, which is another very cheap item, and together that really multiplies your production of these corpse constructs. Now, I was building a lot of these as chaff. First of all, they're actually very good chaff because they just have a ton of hit points, so these are great meat bags to put in front of like evocation mages or archers or whatever. And again, everything's going to have 20 protection, mass regen, etc., etc. But these guys are also amphibious, so I was making a ton of them so that I could threaten this underwater throne. I did not choose to make any Mound Fiends who can reanimate, but I was able to snatch 4 of these oracles with the friendship hat basically at some point earlier. So they've been reanimating a ton of long dead too. So I do have a pile of long dead chaff that is also working for me. And finally, my other source of chaff, which it was active down here for most of the game, but I've been the last few turns I've been doing an epic logistics effort to move everything up here. I think now we're set up here. Yeah, cast improved. So this is another artifact which is absolutely underrated, worth getting, the Manual of Crossbreeding. So this gives you Adept Crossbreeder 20, which increases the effectiveness of that spell. So crossbreeding is a blood ritual. There's the basic version here in Blood 3, but then there's improved crossbreeding down here. This has 40 plus effects, and then the artifact boosts that even more. And it gives you all sorts of chaff, all sorts of stuff. Now, the stuff it gets you a lot of it is just random crap. Some of it can be very high quality, and if you have high luck scales, you get more of the high quality stuff. Now, we have misfortune, so we don't have a lot, but I've been casting it for so long, I actually do have a fair number of those high quality troops accumulated. So let me show you some of the stuff you get. You get spiders. It's all called foul spawn, but you get these spiders. Webs are great. These guys already have 10 protection, so even without tons of buffs, pretty big size, 20 hit points. Their only problem is that they have really crappy morale, so do watch out for that. But if it weren't for the morale, they're actually fantastic troops. But again, we're going to buff them with Army of Gold, Mass Regen, and we're going to put Berserk on them with Growing Fury. So amazing chaff. Really, really good. Most of the chaff that you're going to get is sort of little size 2 dudes. Now, there are a ton of these, and they all have these different kinds of attacks. So most of them are just kind of really... It's chaff, right? But some of them have really funky attacks. Some happen to have regen, some have like cold, some have like 3 attacks, some have really high attack density, 3 attacks per square. Some are really bad, right? Just like a bite, that's it. This is like one of the worst guys. Some of them have life drain, leprosy, a poison spit. There's a whole mix of stuff that you can get. Some are even amphibious. So you can separate these out if you are actually making a big... Some have regen built in. So, you can be very strategic about this. I just need the numbers, so I'm just piling them all together. Now, there are some fancier dudes, and let me see if I can find them so I can show them to you. They are somewhere. Oh, here they are. Okay, so these are also obtained from crossbreeding, but you're more likely to get these if you have luck scales. I don't, so, it's taken me a long time to accumulate this many. These are pretty awesome, though. So this wonderful thing is a size 5, 42 hit points, 4 attacks, has fear, pretty nice. Then we've got a bunch of chimeras. These are flying, 64 hit points, size 6. Bite, Claw, Fangs, and Dragonfire. Amazing. We've got some Ettins. These are not as amazing, but they're fantastic piles of hit points that will just soak up a ton of damage. Honestly, 14 attack, 39 damage, blunt great. Like, this is actually... I'm liking this the more I look at the chassis here. Then we have, let me find one that's less disease here. Another foul spawn, size 5, 54 hit points, 1, 2, 3, 4 claw attacks plus a tail slap. This is just one unit has the same attack density as like a square of dual wielders. Pretty nasty. Here we have a grotesque, another size 6 giant, 72 hit points. This one comes with built-in resists. He's got a claw and a fist, a fire breath, and a stinger. And then here we have a cockatrice, which has good hit points, size 4. Excuse me just a moment. Excuse me, I had to cough. Attacks are pretty average, but the petrifying gas can cause petrify, and it is a beam. You can have a beam petrify, which is amazing. And then we have basilisks, which have gaze of death, which is just 10 armor negating damage in a beam. These things just delete units. Okay, so like these are this is amazing stuff. Now it's taken me a long time to accumulate this many of them because I had misfortune skills, but it didn't cost me a lot. I mean, I've had a blood economy going for a while. It's never been that massive. I just have like a dozen vampires or so, but it's been enough to be manufacturing this chaff so that I have a ridiculous number of it. I also have all of the demon lords, by the way. So for some reason, Vanarus, who's nominally supposed to be the blood power in this nation, he got some Heliophae guy. He got a few other of the summons, but I basically got all the demon lords. So apparently he didn't think they were important, so I got them all. So I've got all the big boys. I might not have currently the Heliophae guy, but I do get some of them later, if I remember correctly. And then I have what Tartarians I have left. Now, I've been, I got started on Tartarian production pretty early. I have lost a ton of Tartarians in all the wars that I've had. But I still have, a whole bunch of them alive and kicking. And that's really important because, and what I'm doing is, you'll see eventually, but I'm relocating my Tartarian factory up here. And I'm going to keep making Tartarians, even though I don't have Gift of Health, because the few that come out and are not feeble-minded, I will still promote and Gift of Reason, and I can use them. And the reason why this is important is because in a late-game war, everything that's human is going to die to flames from the sky. So you need to be able to get all your important buffs up with these Super Commander chassis, right? So, this guy's going to be casting Fog Warriors, right? This guy's going to cast Earth Army of Gold, right? This lady here, I don't know, this lady's going to be doing mass protection, right? That's how Tartarians are one of the only ways for human nations to realistically kind of invade in the late game. Okay, so that is just a summary of what is about to happen. I'm going to end this episode here because it's coming on to 40 minutes. And I think in the next episode, I'll talk about the actual plan of invasion, the kind of scripts that we're doing, and then I'm going to try to roll through the turns and show all the interesting battles and how obviously he's not going to just let me do this. He's going to counterattack. So we'll start going through that in the next videos. So see you guys then. Take care.